Hi, girlfriend. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Natalia Cavalier. I'm always here for you, sharing good topics on the most interesting things that we talked about career, we talk about life, we talk about our impact in our community. So, today it's for the ladies who are currently looking for a new job, trying to move out of their current company or just trying to get the next step in their career and will be facing a interview process. I am very passionate about interview process. Who knows me knows how much I prepare for it, and I'm always looking for better ways to show how you can present yourself and get that job that you desire. So today I want to share the 5 things that you must do in a job interview to make sure that you put up your best self and guarantee that job. So let's start with the energy. So you are talking about the energy. I'm going to bring more energy into the room today. When I'm going for an interview, I always make sure that I'm matching the level of the energy or going above. So when you see that you're working for a company that is constantly asking you to step up on your level of energy, like I do, working at Microsoft, we try to bring energy into the room. So when you're interviewing for a company like Microsoft and you go to talk with the recruiter or the manager, try to be energetic, okay? So when the person calls you and say, "Hey, how are you?" Don't answer with, "Oh, I'm good, thank you." No, you should be saying, "Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Better now that I'm talking with you. So thank you for asking." Something along the lines. I always try to talk with my energy level, even if it's over the phone. So if I'm over the phone and someone is interviewing me, you can be sure that I'm probably standing and projecting my voice. I try not to go overboard. Of course, I don't want to scare people being too loud and not answering the questions in an objective way, which we're going to touch on it, but bring that energy and enthusiasm because today competition is fierce. You know how many people are looking for jobs right now. So if you can pass on that great energy to the other person who you're talking to, they're going to remember you. So you're going to be the person they talk to and maybe make them their day a little better. And they're going to be like, "Wow, I talked to that person and now I feel great." So try to be that positive energy when you talk to a potential employer. The second thing I will tell you is that you should act like the person who is conducting the interview. Okay, so the roles is the person is asking you questions and you are constantly answering them. But there is room there for you to take some part of the conversation by saying, "Oh, I'm glad that you asked that. In my previous role, I did so, and looks like you're looking for this kind of skills. And I also did this and that." So when you start going back and forth as a conversation, you are no longer just answering questions. You're also trying a dialogue and you're trying to get the conversation a little more natural. So you being an active role player into that conversation. When I'm interviewing with someone in a very high level, I try to show them things that are outside of the basics. So if they say, this team is very junior, I need someone who's going to bring in their experience and try to help them on board. I'll say, "Oh, I'm so glad you have such a young energy in the team because before this position, I was a coach for new team members and I did X and Z. And that's how I show my value and it's a passion of mine to be someone's coach. That's something I enjoy very much." So you going above and beyond, you're not just saying, "Oh, okay, Yeah, there's some juniors. I'm comfortable with that. You don't want to be comfortable with that. You want to tell them, take the narrative in your favor and say, I have experience with that and that's great. I enjoy it. I done it. You see the difference between just answering the question and just taking on a more active role. The third thing I would say is avoid basic questions. So when questions are very important, when you're asking questions to managers and the real, role that they are trying to fill, if you go to the basics and let's, for example, ask about work-life balance. This is a classic one. After the COVID situation, I feel like so many people are emphasizing on work-life balance, which is great. But during the first interview, you really don't want to be pushing to know, oh, do I get to work from home on Fridays? Or, is there a work-life balance? Am I going to be working after 5 p.m. because I have to pick up my kids at school? That is not the impression you want to give, right? Yes, work-life balance is important, but you can talk about work-life balance with the recruiter. You can talk with the other team members. I wouldn't bring that up to the manager. And in my case, a lot of times I got the feeling on what is the work-life balance like when I'm talking with the team. So if you talk with some team members that sound like they're stressed out, right? They sound like they're overwhelmed. I had an interview that the person interviewing me, he said, oh my God, I need someone as soon as possible because I can't handle anymore. I'm so overwhelmed. And I got that feeling of, wow, okay, how long has this person been overwhelmed? Did the manager let him continually have more work than he should? Is that something I want to be a part of? So I might not need to ask those basic questions. For example, how many people are in the team? I would ask that, but is that really necessary? You can ask, is it a large team? What is the objective of the team? People work together as a project manager. Am I going to be working with smaller team or larger teams? So you get the feeling without really asking. So avoid the basic questions and try to focus on complex questions. Let me give you an example of a complex question that can generate a dialogue. You can say, I went on your website. I noticed that you have very strong competitors and your product is aligned with competitor X. Can you give me an example of specific things that you're doing to differentiate yourself in this market? And that can generate a full-on conversation about the product. And from that, the manager gets a feeling that, wow, he gets my product. He knows what I'm talking about. And it shows that you did your research. It shows that you understand the product. So your question is not just a check on the box. It's about generating a conversation and showing what value you bring. Okay? So no basic questions. Let's go deep and ask what really matters. So the fourth thing you don't want to do, don't ask about money. No talking about money. You don't ask the compensation. Don't ask a budget. Oh, do you have a budget for this position? Let them bring it up. It's kind of like the check in the restaurant on the first date. Don't ask to split the bill. If you see that he is holding off on taking the credit card, you put your credit card and you share. Don't ask how much it costs. If he doesn't ask you or it doesn't look like he needs you to share, don't offer. That's my advice to my girls. Always be ready to pay. Always be ready to split. If you feel comfortable with, great. But if nobody talks about, don't touch on that subject on the first date. So if the manager is telling you about how many things you would be doing, and if the position is a junior position or is a senior position, are you managing people? Are you not managing people? That would give you a sense for the budget of the position. And what I try to do is I go open-minded to the first interview. I don't ask even the recruiter. I don't ask the recruiter for the budget. I make it very clear to them my experience. So I have over 15 years of experience in business. I'm sure they're not going to offer me $50,000 a year, right? I hope they don't. So when you go into a position that reflects well within your experience, you're probably looking at a marketable offer. So after the first interview, if you feel strong about, I need to know where I'm in, what I'm walking myself into, how much are we talking about before I waste my time? Fair. That's fair. So I would work with the recruiter to say, hey, before we go any further, because now you want to have more interviews, I need to know what is the range for this position. And they would probably say, what are you looking for? So when they respond to you, oh, what are you looking for? I never give them a number. I can tell them a range, which would probably be something along the lines of, I am currently making a comfortable amount of money and I want to stay within the same range. If we're talking about anything between 50,000 and 100,000, which is a big range, I'm comfortable and I'm open to it. Anything below that, I'm not going to entertain. And I'll leave it at that. If he insists on a specific number, you say, I'm sure you have a budget for this position. Why don't you share with me your budget and we can see if we are talking about something that we can work with. Okay? We try our best. Sometimes doesn't go as planned, but no money talk until we see we are going into a deeper conversation and we're getting closer to an offer. Okay? Number 5, what you must do. This is so important. Close the deal. Close the deal. I always close the deal before I leave every single interview. And what do I mean by closing the deal? If I'm asking for the first time, we're just talking, we just started, I always ask, what is the next step? I am so glad we talked. I am so happy to be considered for this position. Thank you for your time. What is my next step? What should I expect from now? If they see you moving along, they will tell you, well, I'm going to make sure that so-and-so reaches out to you and schedule your next interview. That gives you a sense for what is coming up. If they are not very sure, they'll probably tell you, well, I'm not sure, but you're going to hear from us. I'll let you know. You're probably going to hear from the recruiter. That's a sign that you're probably going to hear something at some point and it's not really good. I tell all my friends and I always give advice. I always ask. So if you leave the conversation and you didn't ask for next steps, you didn't ask for a timeline, they might not give to you, and that can be a sign that you're not really interested, because you need to close the deal by saying, I'm very interested. So because I'm so interested, I want to know what's up next, right? So once you close that deal with next steps, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. If you're already into the third conversation and you know for a fact that that's your last interview, then the whole game changes. What I do when I'm closing the deal for the hiring manager to give me some sign that I'm the right person or not, I usually close the deal. Literally, I sell myself and I tell him, before I go, I want to make sure you know this about me. I'm the right person for the job. I have the right skills. But more than that, I am the one who wants this job the most. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and I'm really hopeful that I'm going to hear from you soon. That way, you leave nothing left for imagination. You told him you want the job. You told him you're the right person, and you told him your expectation is to hear soon. After that, you close that deal. And I'm telling you, girlfriend, you're gonna get that phone call and they're gonna say, you got the job. I hope this was helpful to you and you got some good tips out of it. And let me know how your job search is going. We'll talk soon. Bye bye.